Tyr. Tyr is the Aesir god of war, law, justice, and honor. Following a spiritual awakening, he gave up his role as the god of war, embarked on a journey of introspection, and changed his position to one of peace. Tyr was imprisoned by Odin. After the death of Odin and the destruction of Asgard, he was freed by Kratos and Freya. Norse mythology. Tyr is a Norse god associated with war and heroic glory in Norse mythology. He is typically described as only having one hand, having lost the other to the wolf Fenrir. Corresponding names in other Germanic languages are Gothic Tius, Old English Tiw and Old High German Ziu and Sio, all from Proto-Germanic * to was. The Latinized name is rendered as Tius or Tio and also formally as Mars Thinksus. In the late Icelandic Eddas, Tyr is portrayed, alternately, as the son of Odin, Prose Edda, or of Hymir, Poetic Edda, while the origins of his name and his possible relationship to Tuisto, the divine ancestor of the Germanic peoples, suggest he was once considered the father of the gods and head of the pantheon, since his name is ultimately cognate to that of Dyrus, the reconstructed chief deity in Indo-European religion. Tyr's most notable tale is how he lost his hand to the wolf giant Fenrir. Before Fenrir was chained and imprisoned, the gods decided to raise the wolf pup in Asgard. They knew the future of young Fenrir and let him stay as a way to try and control their fate, but no one other than Tyr dared to go near the wolf out of terror. As such, Tyr was the only one who dared approach the wolf to feed him. But with Fenrir growing so quickly, Odin and the other gods decided to imprison him to keep Ragnarok from happening. Fenrir broke every chain the gods used to keep him imprisoned. Until they sought aid from the dwarves who forged the magical Gleipnir, an unbreakable chain made from 6 mystical materials: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish and the spittle of a bird. Gleipnir was noted to be as thin and as soft as a silk ribbon. When the gods returned Fenrir with the new chain, the wolf grew suspicious due to the apparent pointlessness of being bound with something so delicate. So Fenrir decided to test their honor, by having one of the gods put their hand in his mouth as he was bound as a show of good faith that meant there was no deceit surrounding the silk chain. If they were lying, one of the gods would lose a hand. Tyr silently stepped up and placed his right hand within the wolf's jaws. As Fenrir thrashed and kicked, Gleipnir only grew stronger and tighter. Realizing he had been tricked, Fenrir bit off Tyr's hand in rage. In Gylfaginning, he's regarded as the bringer of victory as well as one of the bravest and valiant for his role in the binding of Fenrir and yet also promoter of perjury. The latter made him not considered as a god associated with settlement among the people. Before God of War, 2018. Tyr was the son of Odin and Hrr and was the half-brother of Thor, Mæli, Bragi, Heimdall, Hodr, Baldur, Hermodr, Vidar, and Vali. Although he was the god of war, Tyr fought for peace. He was a frequent traveler of the world, eager to learn about other cultures and gain new perspectives, believing it to be the only way of achieving true peace. Because of his kind demeanor, Tyr was often given relics during his travels, keeping them safely tucked away in his own personal vault. Tyr was also responsible for leading the construction of the temple in the Lake of Nine, allowing for faster and more fluent travel between the 9 realms. A natural pacifist, Tyr sought to broker peace between his people, the Aesir, and their long-standing enemies, the Jotnar, following the tentative truce between the Aesir and the Vanir. Though the giants were frightened by the Aesir's power, they held enough trust in Tyr to allow Odin entry into Jotunheim for negotiations. Unbeknownst to Tyr, however, Odin secretly intended not to honor any deal made, and instead, used the opportunity to spy and steal the giant's secret wisdom. Anticipating Odin's treachery, the giants expelled him from Jotunheim, cursing him never to return. In anger, Odin turned his wrath on the giants of Midgard, allowing Thor to massacre them at will. Feeling guilty for his role in the Jotnar's suffering, Tyr aided the guardian of the Jotnar, Faye, in hiding the gate to Jotunheim in the space between realms, preventing Odin from ever having a direct way back to Jotunheim. However, through the use of the Unity Stone, Tyr himself was still able to access Jotunheim via the hidden gate. Eventually, Odin grew to regard Tyr as a threat to his power, correctly suspecting him of plotting with the giants. As a result, Odin had Tyr secretly imprisoned in Asgard and spread rumors that he had died. As a result, almost everyone in the 9 realms believed Odin had killed Tyr. God of War Ragnarok. When Kratos and Atreus went out to search for Tyr after discovering that he is still alive, Odin, to prevent the duo from finding where his son is actually imprisoned, proceeded to pose as Tyr and imprison himself in a mine in Svartalfheim. This ruse was eventually exposed by Brok. During the destruction of Asgard due to Ragnarok, Tyr remained imprisoned and survived, as his prison was one of the few fragments of the realm that managed to escape the destruction. Much later, after Odin's death, Kratos and Freya traveled to Nibelheim and discovered the ruined prison, which is being guarded by some of the surviving Einherjar. There, the two discover the real Tyr in one of the cells. At first, Kratos thinks that he is just an illusion conjured by Odin, but Mimir thinks that he is real. Tyr is pleased when Kratos and Freya revealed that Odin is dead and all the realms are free from the rule of the Aesir after many centuries. After being freed, Tyr briefly stays in his prison to ponder about what he has learnt and trying to remember Kratos, whose name he had heard in the past. Later he wandered around Nibelheim and heard Sinmara weeping over Surtur's death. He can be found wandering throughout the other realms after leaving Nibelheim. Appearance: Tyr was an imposingly tall god, dwarfing most Aesir and Vanir around him apart from Thor. He had a muscular, yet slim physique with a tall head. His hair and beard was long and brown and braided into follicles in certain areas. He wore a weathered blue shirt and dark leather vest over it. Like many Aesir gods, he had several tattoos, especially across his left arm and a blue triangle from the root of his hair pointing to the top of his nose. Tyr, as one of the few people the giants trusted, was also blessed with bejeweled crystals as eyes and had a yellow iris like Mimir. Personality: despite being the god of war, Tyr used his powers and abilities to make peace between the races, instead of starting wars unlike his Greek counterpart Ares, and then Kratos. He used his powers not for selfish reasons like his fellow Aesir but for a higher purpose and with wisdom. And this, in a way, made him a war deity in name only. Tyr liked to interact with other cultures, while gaining a new perspective, to learn and share knowledge and wisdom with them, unlike Odin, who hoarded knowledge, guarding it jealously. Due to his kindness, Tyr accepted items from the places he visited. Tyr kept all the gifts in his temple, most likely to remind himself of the wisdom and knowledge he learned and shared. All the realms adored Tyr for his peaceful and understanding nature as they worked together in creating the gateway in each realm, the Temple of Tyr, all thanks to Tyr's leadership. Even the giants, enemies of the Aesir, trusted Tyr with some of their deepest secrets and knowledge on how to reach their world. They also gifted him their bejeweled eyes that allowed him entry to all realms. Mimir and other figures besides the Aesir continue to speak highly of Tyr. Overall, Tyr is practically nothing like his Aesir kin, who were power-hungry, self-righteous, arrogant and warmongering. Thus, Tyr could very well be indeed one of the few gods who were genuinely good, if not great. This makes Tyr one of the very few gods that has earned Kratos' respect. Mimir stated that Tyr tried to see the best in people, often leaving him susceptible to the deceitful and heinous nature of others, including Odin, who would later betray him. Tyr hoped to bring Odin and the giants together, to forge an everlasting peace, but Odin only came so he could enter Jotunheim and learn their secrets of precognition. From that point on, Tyr worked tirelessly to ensure that Odin could never enter Jotunheim, likely feeling responsible of the resultant rampage and genocide his brother Thor conducted by his Odin's orders. The giants themselves were desperate enough to entrust Tyr, an outsider, with the secret paths to their realm, likely because of how close he was to them. Even Kratos' future wife, Laufey, helped Tyr in hiding the realm gate to Jotunheim from Odin. Tyr proved to be a very cunning and creative individual, evident in the complex traps found in his temple and by how he managed to hide the Jotunheim gate between the realms. Even Mimir, who is credited as the smartest man alive, became very impressed by how Tyr made sure the Aesir could not reach the giant's realm and of the knowledge he gained. Powers and abilities. Powers. As the Aesir god of war, Tyr possessed immense superhuman physical abilities and supernatural powers. Immortality. As a god, Tyr was innately immortal, with only divine forces and weapons being capable of slaying him. Superhuman strength. As the god of war, it can be assumed that Tyr held immense superhuman strength. Due to being a son of someone as powerful as Odin, it can be assumed that his strength is far more developed from other Aesir who are not of Odin's bloodline. Regenerative healing factor. Tyr possesses regenerative ability. Before, when capturing Garm, Tyr sacrificed his arm to gain the dog's trust. When it found out it has been tricked, the dog bite his arm clean off, but when Kratos, Mimir and Freya found him, his arm already grew back. Mimir also praises Tyr as a very resourceful god. Incarnation of war, as the god of war, Tyr has much of his power from wars. Although he is a peaceful god, he does not hesitate to use his powers to defend himself. Abilities. Combat abilities. Befitting his status as the god of war, Tyr presumably excelled in all forms of armed and unarmed combat. Combined with his intellect and cunning, it can be assumed that he was an exceedingly formidable warrior. Genius-level intellect. Tyr was an extremely intelligent, clever, wise, cunning, creative, unpredictable and curious god. His curiosity for knowledge and wisdom have led him to know and even visit other pantheons in order to have a higher perspective and to find a way to achieve true peace. Also he was able to create puzzles and keys that no normal mind can solve easily. Also with his high intelligence, he was able to deceive and outsmart Odin, who himself was very smart and cunning, and his fellow Aesir for a very long period of time without revealing his intentions, being always 2 steps ahead of Odin. He hid all entrances to Jotunheim and all Jotnar's secrets without leaving traces so that Odin will never learn from their secrets. Diplomat. His gift in diplomacy earns him immense respect and even adoration from various races of different realms and even foreign pantheons. Even the Aesir-hating giants trusted him enough of their deepest secrets, and was possibly the only Aesir they held in high regard. His leadership qualities brought the various races of the realms to construct the Temple of Tyr that allowed direct travel to each realm. Because of that, Tyr was the only Aesir to earn the respect and trust of the Jotnar, including Kratos' late wife, Laufey. Magical eyes. Just like Mimir, Tyr possessed magical bejeweled eyes, made of bifrost crystal, which were gifted to him by the giants. They were capable of projecting magical images, and revealing secrets. Interdimensional travel. Through the use of the Unity Stone, Tyr was able to access the realm between realms. This allowed Tyr to travel to distant lands of different cultures, namely, Greek, Japanese, Mayan, Egyptian, and Celtic. He was also able to access the secret pathways to Jotunheim, something which even Odin himself cannot do.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.